You see, life isn't as serious as we pretend it to be. We walk around wearing masks of importance, chasing things that shimmer, fearing the moments that fade, forgetting that behind it all, we're simply playing a grand game. A game we didn't design, but one we can learn to play beautifully. When you were a child, you didn't worry about winning. You just played. You laughed, you lost, you tried again. But somewhere along the line, someone told you that life is about achievement, status, money, image, and control. And you believed them. That's when the game started controlling you. The secret, my friend, is not to escape the game, but to remember that it is one, to play it consciously, to move through it with grace, not with fear. Because when you forget you're playing, you become the pawn. But when you remember, you become the player. You see, every rule in life was made up by someone before you. The idea of success, the definition of failure, the timeline of happiness, they're all illusions, cleverly disguised, but empty when you stare too long. The moment you realize this, you begin to laugh. Not a mocking laugh, but the kind that comes from seeing through the illusion. And in that laughter, you're free. Freedom doesn't come from breaking the system. It comes from not letting the system break you. You don't hack life by taking shortcuts. You hack it by changing how you see it, by realizing that losing and winning are the same thing when the purpose is to play. Imagine a dancer who's only trying to reach the final pose. They'd miss the beauty of every step. They'd turn something alive into something mechanical. And that's what most people do with their lives. Rushing to the end, forgetting the rhythm. But when you dance because you love the music, there's no finish line. There's only motion. Only the pulse of now. The hack, therefore, is not control. It's surrender. Not laziness, but presence. Not chasing, but moving with awareness. You don't have to stop dreaming. Just stop suffering for your dreams. Play, build, create. But remember, none of it defines you. It's all part of the game's texture. You are not what happens to you. You are the one watching it happen. And when you see that, you'll stop clinging to every win and loss like it's your identity. There's a deep peace in knowing that life doesn't owe you anything, yet gives you everything to experience. Pain, joy, confusion, silence, they're all different levels of the same game. You can fight them, or you can play with them. And once you stop trying to win, you start living. Because the purpose of a game is not to finish it as quickly as possible, but to enjoy the act of playing it. Every morning when you wake up, don't think, how do I survive today? Think, how do I play today? Play as the lover, the dreamer, the builder, the fool. Play sincerely, but lightly. Love fully, but don't grip too tight. Learn deeply, but don't drown in thought. The hack is presence, because presence makes every move intentional, and every failure temporary. When you live like that, you'll find that nothing really ends. Even death becomes another level, another beginning. And so the game continues endlessly, beautifully. And you, my friend, are not trapped in it. You are it. So stop searching for meaning. Create it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Play in this one. Because that's how you hack life, by remembering that it was never meant to be solved, only experienced. Life is a game, not a war. Most people spend their days fighting battles that don't even exist. They wake up every morning already armed with stress, fear, and the feeling that they must defend themselves from life. They treat every moment as a competition, every person as a rival, and every mistake as a failure. But what if life was never meant to be fought? What if it was meant to be played, explored, and enjoyed like a child discovering something for the first time? Think about it. When you were younger, you didn't worry about what would happen if you fell while running. You just ran. You didn't care if your drawing was perfect. You just drew. That was pure play. There was no scoreboard, no audience to impress, no fear of losing. You didn't need permission to be happy. But then, as you grew older, the world taught you to compare, to chase, to win. And slowly, you forgot how to play. You started treating every challenge as an enemy, every obstacle as a threat, every moment as something to control. You became a soldier in a war that doesn't exist, fighting traffic, fighting deadlines, fighting your own reflection in the mirror, always trying to win, but never feeling at peace. But life isn't against you. It's not testing you. It's teaching you. Every situation you face isn't a fight to survive. It's an invitation to grow. When something goes wrong, it's not life punishing you. It's life asking, can you still dance when the music changes? Look at how nature plays. The ocean doesn't struggle to reach the shore. It flows. The sun doesn't compete with the stars. It shines in its own time. The bird doesn't fight the wind. It rides it. And you, too, are part of this dance. But you've been told to fight instead of flow. You've been told to grind until you break, to hustle until you forget why you started, to win even if it means losing yourself. But what if the real strength is not in fighting harder, but in moving smarter? What if the real victory is not in beating others, but in mastering your own peace? Imagine you're playing a video game. If you treat every level as an attack, you'll panic, rush, and lose. But if you see each level as a puzzle to enjoy, a challenge to explore, you'll start smiling even when you fail. You'll start laughing when you fall off the cliff for the 10th time, because you know it's just part of the game. Life is exactly like that. When you stop fighting it, you start seeing its design. That heartbreak you suffered wasn't destruction. It was redirection. That failure wasn't an end. It was an upgrade. That person who left you didn't ruin you. They revealed you. Every moment is teaching you something if you stop seeing it as a war and start seeing it as a lesson in rhythm. Every dancer knows that beauty isn't in control, it's in timing. The same goes for life. You can't control the beat, but you can move with it. And when you move with it, you start feeling alive again. You stop comparing, you stop rushing, you stop pretending, you stop playing. You wake up not to survive, but to explore. You talk to people not to impress them, but to connect. You work not to prove your worth, but to express it. Life becomes lighter, deeper, funnier. The same problems still exist, but your approach changes. Instead of saying, "Why me?" you start saying, "Let's see." Instead of resisting, you start responding. The people who truly win at life are not the ones who conquer everything. They're the ones who flow through everything. They fail gracefully. They rise quietly. They laugh loudly. They understand that even pain is part of the play. Remember the child who falls off the bicycle, cries for a moment, then gets up again. That's what life wants from you. It doesn't want you to fight every fall. It wants you to keep playing despite them, because the point was never to avoid falling. The point was to ride. You don't need to be perfect to play beautifully. You just need to stop seeing life as something to beat and start seeing it as something to join. You don't lose the game because you make mistakes. You lose only when you forget you're playing. So slow down. Look around. Not everyone is your enemy. Not every failure is fatal. Not every delay is denial. Sometimes the universe is just asking you to dance at a different pace. And when you finally let go of the fight, when you drop the armor and open your eyes, you'll realize that life was never trying to hurt you. It was always trying to teach you how to move. Every day is an opportunity to play with more awareness. When someone tries to upset you, see it as a challenge to keep your balance. When you face uncertainty, treat it as a new level in the game. When you feel lost, remember, even the best players wander before they win. Life doesn't need your resistance. It needs your rhythm. And once you find it, you'll stop surviving and start living. Because the real hack is not to fight life, it's to flow with it. Awareness is the ultimate hack. Everything begins the moment you become aware. Awareness is not some mysterious power. It is simply the ability to see things as they are, not as your fears or habits make them appear. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, check their phone, rush through breakfast, drive the same route, meet the same people, think the same thoughts, and end the day wondering why nothing changes. They believe they are making choices, but really their habits are. And the saddest part is they don't even notice it. Awareness changes that. Awareness is like switching on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you see where the walls are, where the door is. what's actually blocking your way. The obstacles were always there, but when you're unaware, you keep bumping into them and blaming life. When you're aware, you start to see the patterns in yourself. You notice that every time someone criticizes you, you react the same way. You notice that when you feel stressed, you reach for your phone, not because you want to, but because you're escaping. You begin to realize that you're not your emotions. You're the one watching them happen. Imagine you're playing a video game. When you're unaware, you think you are the character on the screen. Every hit, every fall, every loss feels like the end. But when you become aware, you realize you're the one holding the controller. You stop panicking. You stop screaming at the screen. You start playing better because now you're not trapped inside the game. You're conscious of it. In life, awareness gives you that same control. You no longer get lost in the chaos of emotions. You watch them, you understand them, and then you decide how to move. When someone insults you, you don't instantly react because you're aware that reacting is a habit that feeds them power. When you fail, you don't crumble because you're aware that failure is who you are. It's simply feedback from life. Look around in your daily life. Awareness is the missing link between reaction and response. If you're unaware, you'll swerve at every distraction, get angry at every honk, and miss every turn. But when you're aware, you move smoothly, you predict, you adjust. Awareness doesn't remove the traffic. It just stops it from controlling your peace. Most people think the hack to life is working harder, earning more, controlling others. But the real hack is controlling yourself. Awareness lets you pause before you speak, observe before you judge, breathe before you break. It gives you a space, a sacred space between what happens and what you choose to do next. And in that space lies your freedom. You start to see how easily people are manipulated by fear, by media, by validation. You see how most of the world runs on unconscious momentum. People don't think, they repeat. They don't decide, they follow. They don't live, they react. Awareness pulls you out of that current. You stop being the puppet and start being the player. One day, something annoys you. Maybe a rude message or a friend ignoring you. Before awareness, you'd spiral. You'd overthink, overreact, and create stories in your mind. But with awareness, you catch it. You see your ego wanting to take over. You smile, breathe, and let it pass. That moment may seem small, but it's massive. Because in that tiny moment, you just broke the chain that once controlled you. Awareness turns pain into perspective. Imagine you lose your job. Without awareness, you drown in self-pity, thinking the world is unfair. But with awareness, you feel the pain, you acknowledge it, but you also step back and ask, what is this trying to teach me? Where can I grow from this? Suddenly, The same situation that could have destroyed you becomes the one that transforms you. Awareness doesn't mean you won't feel emotions. It means you'll no longer be enslaved by them. You'll still feel anger, but it won't blind you. You'll still feel sadness, but it won't drown you. You'll still feel fear, but it won't stop you. You begin to live from clarity, not confusion. Think of awareness like standing on a mountain. From up there, you can see the whole landscape. The roads, the rivers, the storms. You can see what others can't because they're stuck in the valley, running in circles. Awareness doesn't make you better than them. It just gives you a wider view. And when you have that view, you stop chasing meaningless things. You no longer waste energy trying to prove yourself. You stop needing validation because you can see through it. You realize that people are too busy worrying about their own image to even judge yours. That realization alone is freedom. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you power. The power to walk away without anger. The power to speak truth without fear. The power to love without attachment. And that is how you hack life, by seeing it. The moment you start observing your thoughts instead of believing them, something shifts. You realize that the mind is a brilliant servant, but a terrible master. Awareness makes you the master again. It teaches you that your emotions are waves. They rise, they fall, but they pass. And you, the observer, remain still beneath them. In relationships, awareness helps you see what's real. You start noticing when someone is projecting their pain onto you. You stop reacting to their chaos and start understanding it. You no longer need to win every argument because you realize peace is a higher victory. Every argument, every fear, every desire. Awareness lets you stand in the middle of it and watch. And when you can watch, you can choose. You can choose not to shout, not to panic, not to shrink. You can choose to breathe. And that single breath, that pause, can change the entire direction of your life. Awareness is the ultimate hack because it takes you from victim to creator. It doesn't promise control over the world. It gives you control over yourself. And when you have that, you stop being played by life and start playing it beautifully. Presence over perfection. That's the truth most people forget. While chasing a life they think will finally make them feel enough. We've been raised in a world obsessed with results. Grades, numbers, awards, followers. Everything is measured, ranked, and compared. From childhood, we were taught that we must reach somewhere to be someone. We were told to run faster, speak better, look stronger, achieve more. And so we started living in the future, constantly trying to reach a place where life would finally feel complete. But that place never comes because perfection is a mirage, and the more you chase it, the further it moves away. The real beauty of life isn't in reaching the end. It's in being fully alive while you're still in motion. Imagine an artist painting a masterpiece. If he's obsessed with the final picture, he'll rush through every brushstroke, trying to make it flawless. But the real magic happens when he loses himself in the process, when the paint touches the canvas, when the colors mix unexpectedly, when the mistake turns into art. Life is the same. It's messy, unpredictable, and imperfect. And that's what makes it breathtaking. People think happiness comes from control, but it comes from presence. Have you ever watched a child play in the rain? They're not thinking about how they look or whether someone is watching. They're fully in the moment, soaked, laughing, alive. That's what we lose as we grow older. We start performing instead of living. We turn life into an exam. We're terrified to fail. You see, perfection is a prison disguised as ambition. It keeps you anxious, comparing, and never satisfied. You might achieve 100 things, but your mind will still whisper, not enough. You could reach your dream job, your ideal body, your perfect relationship, but you'll still feel empty if you never learn to be present. Because perfection promises peace, but steals it first. Presence is different. Presence says, this moment is enough. It's drinking coffee without scrolling through your phone. It's walking outside and actually feeling the air, hearing the hum of life around you. It's listening to someone without waiting for your turn to talk. It's doing your best and letting go of the need to control how it's received. You can see this everywhere. Think of an athlete in motion. When he's truly present, his body flows naturally. Every breath, every move aligns perfectly. But the moment he starts overthinking, what if I mess up? What if I lose? His rhythm breaks. Presence makes you powerful because it connects you with reality. Perfection weakens you because it ties you to illusion. We all chase the perfect version of ourselves. The one who never makes mistakes, never gets rejected, never feels lost. But that person doesn't exist. The real you is not flawless. The real you stumbles, forgets, breaks, rebuilds, and still shows up. And that's far more beautiful than perfection. In daily life, we see people constantly chasing something better. The student stressing over grades so much that he forgets to actually learn. The entrepreneur so addicted to sex that he loses sleep, health, and joy. The parent trying so hard to raise a perfect child that they forget to simply love them. Everyone's moving, but no one's here. Presence over perfection means slowing down enough to actually live. It means letting go of the idea that you need to fix everything before you can feel peace. It's realizing that you can enjoy the process even if the outcome is uncertain. When you're present, you start seeing beauty in the smallest things. The sound of laughter, the warmth of sunlight, the silence of night. There's a moment in everyone's life when they realize they've been running so long they forgot why they started. They reach the top of the mountain and find it's not as satisfying as they imagined. Because joy doesn't come from the peak, it comes from the climb. The conversations along the way, the lessons learned, the small victories that no one saw. That's where life hides its meaning. Presence is not laziness. It's awareness. It doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you stop suffering for your striving. When you cook, be there with the sound of the knife, the smell of the spices, the warmth of the stove. When you talk to someone, really listen, not to reply, but to understand. When you work, pour yourself into it, not because you must, but because you can. The world glorifies perfection, but perfection is static. A flower that never changes isn't alive. A human that never struggles isn't growing. A journey without mistakes isn't real. Presence allows imperfection to exist without shame. It allows you to live truthfully instead of performing endlessly. You'll notice something powerful once you start practicing it. Life slows down, not because time changes, but because you do. Suddenly, you stop rushing through meals, rushing through conversations, rushing through your own thoughts. You begin to notice how much beauty was always around you, hidden behind your obsession with getting somewhere else. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be better, but there's everything wrong with hating yourself in the process. Presence teaches you to improve from love, not from lack. It whispers, you can grow and still be enough. It teaches you that your worth isn't waiting at the finish line. It's here, in this breath, in this moment, in the fact that you are still trying, still alive, still becoming. The greatest people in history weren't perfect. They were present. They made mistakes, doubted themselves, failed many times, but they kept showing up fully in their craft, in their conversations, in their emotions. They understood that what makes something truly alive is not flawlessness, but authenticity. So when your mind tells you you're not enough, pause, breathe, notice the sound of your heart, the rhythm of your breath, the life moving through you. This moment, right now, is all there ever is. Perfection lives in the future. Presence lives in the now. And the now is where you find everything you've been chasing all along. Detachment brings mastery. That's one of the hardest truths to understand in a world that worships control. We've been taught since childhood that if we want something, we must grip it tightly, hold on, fight for it, never let go. But the more you cling, the more it slips away. The more desperate you become to control life, the more life resists your control. The paradox is that mastery doesn't come from holding tighter, it comes from loosening your grip. When you cling to results, you stop seeing clearly. You stop learning because you're too focused on winning. You stop growing because you're too afraid of failing. It's like trying to catch water with your fist, the harder you squeeze, the more it escapes through your fingers. But when you open your hand, the water rests gently in your palm. That's how life works. You can only hold it when you stop forcing it. Think of a musician performing on stage. When he's truly in the moment, his hands move naturally, his soul blends with the melody, and he creates magic. But the moment he starts worrying about whether the crowd loves him, whether he'll hit the perfect note, he loses the rhythm, because his attention shifts from the music to the outcome. Mastery fades when attachment takes over. Life is like that stage. The more you worry about what people think, the more you lose your natural rhythm. You can't be fully alive when your mind is chained to expectations. You can't enjoy the dance when you're terrified of stepping wrong. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring deeply without being controlled by the result. Look around, and you'll see how attachment ruins peace. The student who studies not to learn, but just to get the top grade, ends up burnt out. The employee who works only for promotion ends up empty. The lover who clings too hard to someone ends up pushing them away. It's not effort that destroys peace, it's attachment to what that effort must bring. Detachment doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop suffering for your dreams. It's when you pour your heart into something, but you stay free enough to smile even if it doesn't go as planned. It's when you love someone fully, but don't beg them to stay. It's when you work hard, but your self-worth isn't hanging by the thread of success. In sports, this truth becomes clear. The best athletes aren't the ones who try to control every move. They're the ones who trust their training, stay calm, and flow with the game. Their focus isn't on the trophy, it's on the play. When the mind is free from obsession, the body performs effortlessly. Mastery is not in force, it's in flow. You can see this even in relationships. When you're attached, you start demanding, expecting, trying to mold someone into your idea of them. You stop seeing who they truly are. But when you're detached, you allow love to breathe. You don't possess the person, you experience them. You understand that people aren't yours to own. They're gifts to appreciate. And because you don't grip them, they stay longer. Think about your failures. How many times have you fallen apart just because things didn't go your way? Attachment to the outcome is what breaks people. They think if something doesn't turn out perfect, it means they're worthless. But detachment teaches you something else. It teaches you that your worth isn't tied to your wins. It's tied to your willingness to keep playing, keep learning, keep showing up. Detachment gives you power because it removes fear. When you're no longer terrified of losing, you become unstoppable. You take bigger risks, speak more freely, live more honestly. The person who doesn't cling can never truly be broken. In your daily life, detachment might look simple. It's choosing peace over argument. It's saying it's okay. When things go differently, it's knowing you can't control others, only yourself. It's doing your best work, then walking away without waiting for applause. There's a story about an archer. When he shoots for fun, his aim is perfect. When he shoots for a prize, his hands tremble, his mind becomes tight, and he misses. The target hasn't changed. His mind has. That's what attachment does. It makes you nervous, fearful, desperate. But when you're detached, your actions flow naturally, and mastery appears by itself. Detachment is misunderstood. People think it means being cold or emotionless, but true detachment is full of emotion. It's just free from obsession. It's like watching a sunset. You don't try to hold it. You don't demand it lasts longer. You just watch it, completely absorbed in its beauty, knowing it will fade. And that's what makes it beautiful. The most peaceful people aren't the ones who have everything. They're the ones who stopped needing everything to be a certain way. They've learned that control is an illusion and surrender is strength. They give their best to life, but let life decide the rest. You can see this in simple moments. When you're waiting traffic, when someone disappoints you, when a plan falls apart, attachment makes you angry because you want reality to match your expectations. Detachment makes you calm because you understand that reality was never supposed to obey you. You begin to trust timing, trust lessons, trust that what's meant for you will not miss you. You stop chasing and start attracting. Because when you're no longer desperate, you move differently. Your energy changes. People feel it. Opportunities come to you because you're no longer chasing them with fear. When you practice detachment, you start finding joy in the process. You stop measuring your worth by the end result. You start playing for the sake of the play. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every delay becomes preparation. You realize that losing something outside you doesn't mean you've lost yourself. Detachment brings mastery because it brings balance. You're neither numb nor obsessed. You're engaged, but not enslaved. You give everything, but you're not consumed by it. You walk into life with open hands, not clenched fists. And suddenly, everything that once felt heavy becomes light. Everything that once scared you loses its power. Everything that once controlled you begins to bow before your calmness. Meaning is created, not discovered. Most people spend their entire lives searching for meaning, as if it were a hidden treasure buried somewhere out there, waiting to be found. They travel from place to place, from person to person, from one dream to another, hoping something will finally make them feel complete. They say things like, I just need to find my purpose. I just need to know why I'm here. But here's the truth. There is no fixed meaning waiting for you to stumble upon it. Life didn't come with a manual or a single script you were supposed to follow. Meaning is not found. It is made moment by moment through what you choose to give your heart to. Look at a painter staring at a blank canvas. There's nothing there. No color, no story, no beauty. But as he picks up a brush and moves his hand, the canvas begins to come alive. That's life. You are the painter, and every choice, every action, every emotion is a stroke of paint. Most people never cup the brush because they keep waiting for the picture to appear on its own. They keep waiting for someone or something to give them a permission to start living. You see this everywhere. People think meaning will come when they get the right job, the right partner, the right recognition. They think purpose will arrive in the mail one day, wrapped with certainty. But purpose doesn't appear, it's built. Meaning is not discovered like a fossil, it's sculpted like clay. It takes shape as you touch it, shape it, and pour yourself into it. Think about your daily routine. How many times have you told yourself, "There's nothing special about my life"? That's only because you haven't looked closely enough. The same morning coffee, the same quiet walk, the same conversation, they can all feel sacred when you bring presence into them. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is not what happens, but how deeply you participate in it. Meaning comes from engagement, not escape. The more you run from discomfort, the more hollow life becomes. But when you show up fully, even in pain, even in uncertainty, you start to see beauty where others see chaos. When you sit with your struggles instead of hiding from them, you start to realize that every tear has a lesson, every loss has a shape, and every scar is a sentence in your story. Think about the moments that changed you the most. They weren't the easy ones. It was when you failed, when someone walked away, when you had to rebuild from nothing. And yet, those moments gave you depth, wisdom, and strength. Meaning is born out of how you respond to what happens, not out of what happens itself. Two people can face the same situation. One feels broken by it. The other transformed. The difference is awareness. People waste years waiting for a sign that tells them what their life is about. They think meaning will suddenly appear like light from the sky. But meaning doesn't appear to those who wait. It appears to those who move. You can't find meaning in standing still. It reveals itself in motion. It's when you take action, when you create, when you help, when you love, when you risk. That's when meaning starts whispering to you. There's a man who cleans the streets before dawn. People pass by without even noticing him. But to him, every morning is sacred. He says, "When I clean the road, I imagine I'm preparing the world for others to walk freely." To him, his broom isn't just a broom. It's a way to serve, to belong, to add beauty. He created meaning in what others would call meaningless. That's mastery. The secret is life itself is empty until you fill it with intention. The universe gives you the ingredients: time, body, mind, experience. But it doesn't give you the recipe. You must cook your own meal. That's why comparison kills meaning. When you keep looking at what others are doing, you start believing their recipe should be yours. You forget that meaning isn't universal. It's personal. What moves you deeply might not make sense to anyone else. And that's okay. Meaning is created when you give your energy to something bigger than your fear. When you write a poem no one may ever read. When you help a stranger expecting nothing back. When you stay up late working on something that makes you come alive. Those moments are meaning. In relationships, people often look for someone who will give their life meaning. They say things like, "You complete me," as if they were broken before. But no one completes you. A person can inspire you, mirror you, challenge you. But meaning must come from within. When you depend on someone else to give your life purpose, you hand over your power. But when you create meaning through how you love, how you care, how you show up, you take that power back. Even in suffering, meaning can be made. When you face pain with awareness, it becomes transformation. When you help others through what once hurt you, your suffering becomes sacred. That's how meaning grows, not from perfection, but from participation. You can test this yourself. Try this for one day. Instead of asking, "What's the meaning of my life?" ask, "What meaning can I create right now?" When you eat, taste it fully. When you talk, listen fully. When you work, give yourself completely. Meaning is hidden in the details that most people rush past. It's not somewhere far away. It's right here, waiting for you to notice. There's no grand answer coming from outside. No voice from the sky will tell you what your purpose is. Life is giving you the canvas, but you must pick the colors. The question is not, what is the meaning of life? The question is, what meaning will you choose to give this moment? Because the moment you stop waiting and start creating, everything begins to feel alive again. And in the end, you'll realize something quietly powerful. Life was never about winning or losing. It was about playing consciously. It was never about finding meaning. It was about creating it with your own two hands. Every moment, every heartbreak, every rise and fall was part of the game, inviting you to wake up and participate fully. You were never meant to simply survive it. You were meant to dance with it, to mold it, to laugh at it when it gets absurd, and to keep playing even when the rules change. You see, the beauty of this game is that no one else gets to play it the way you do. No one else carries your memories, your lessons, your scars. No one else sees the world through your eyes. That is your superpower, your uniqueness. Stop waiting for the right moment, because the right moment is the one you're in. Stop waiting for permission to begin, because no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you your destiny. You have to decide that this life is yours to shape, that this game belongs to you. There will be days when it all feels pointless, when you feel like nothing you do matters. Those are the moments when most people quit, when they put down their pieces and say, maybe I was never meant to play. But that's exactly when the game tests you. That's when you must remember that meaning doesn't come from comfort. It comes from persistence. Even when you feel small, even when no one is watching, keep playing. Greatness is not a sudden explosion. It's the quiet fire that keeps burning when everything else goes dark. The truth is, you will lose sometimes. You will fail, you will fall, you will be misunderstood. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the foundation of it. Every loss, every rejection, every night spent questioning yourself is part of the journey. Those moments are not signs that you're off track. They're proof that you're actually playing. And if you can learn to smile through them, to see the beauty in your own imperfection, you'll become unstoppable. You must understand life is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present. It's asking you to be real, to feel deeply, to keep your heart open even when it hurts. Because every experience, the joy, the fear, the confusion, is shaping you into something remarkable. Every choice you make is a move on the board. And as long as you're moving, as long as you're learning, you're still in the game. So stop chasing certainty. Stop waiting for the finish line. Life is not meant to be figured out, it's meant to be lived. You don't need to know the entire path to take the first step. One step is enough, and then another, and another, until one day you'll look back and realize that the game wasn't about reaching the end. It was about how courageously you played it. Think of it like this. You are both the player and the creator. The world will give you pieces, but you decide how to arrange them. You decide whether you'll play safe or take risks. And the more you dare, the more alive you feel. So take the leap, make the move, say the words, live boldly. Because nothing is more tragic than dying with your potential still trapped inside you. There's a moment in every life when you stop running, when you stop pretending you don't care, when you finally say, this is my story, and I'll write it my way. That's the moment the game changes. That's the moment you start to live instead of simply existing. And maybe that's all life ever wanted from you. To stop trying to win and start trying to awaken. So play the game with all your heart. Break your own limits. Love recklessly. Forgive quickly. Fail spectacularly. And no matter what happens, keep showing up. Because at the end of it all, you'll realize the greatest victory was never about what you achieved. It was about who you became while playing.